Aemond, you sapphire-eyed son of a... Welcome to Voice of the Fat Mantis, and we're going to talk about 14 things that I've taken away from the finale of House of the Dragon.
What?
Daemon asked the question in the beginning, what was on our mind the entire time? How are you here, and why did you not say Dracarys? Where's the Dracarys? Hey, auntie character, Rhaenys, whatever your name is, you're either on our side or you're on no side. You're in the grave side. Pick a lane, chick, and stick with it.
2.
What's with all the baby murder? So basically, there's always stillborn babies or mothers dying in childbirth in Game of Thrones franchise. And I just feel like I've seen enough of it. It's just, they feel like they're like, maybe you want more details on this. No, I'm good. I'm good. And just if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, give me a subscribe, and keep tuning in, guys.
Fred?
Very touching scene when Sir Eric, whichever one he is, bows to her and hands her her father's crown, and everyone in all the land is bowing to her. Except her aunt Rhaenys. That's totally shady. I would have immediately called the guards on her. Had her thrown in a dungeon for all her trouble. Should have said Dracarys.
4.
During the point where they're planning their war, Daemon continuously counts the Valyrian side. He counts their navy and their troops and later on their dragons. And they do a cutaway to Aunt Rhaenys, and she's just like, you're assuming I'm on your side. Which means he might not get them, man. You shouldn't count chickens before their eggs, especially in front of a chicken farmer. I'm lost in this analogy. All I know is that it was just stupid of him. You can't count on those people. I didn't mean those people.
5.
Rhaenyra is soft. Soft AF, man. What is up with this chick? She wants to keep peace. She doesn't want to do all these things. You can't win a war playing the soft game. They are outlaws who broke the law and stole her birthright. Man up, sister.
6.
The choke heard around the world. Yeah, this was already, as we all know, this episode is already leaked. It's out there. It's out amongst the masses. People are thinking about it, and everyone's really upset about this choke. Now, the first thing I got to say is that if you think Daemon is a cool bad boy with a heart of gold, you are thinking wrong. He's a straight-up villain. He is a bad person. He's a dark, evil person. And kind of Rhaenyra has a bit of that Targaryen fire and blood in her as well, and that's why they get along so well. He's a man who murdered his ex-wife. I am sure he would choke a woman in an argument. Now, that being said, I still don't like it. Why? It made no sense. In the middle of their conversation, he suddenly grabs her like a psychopath. I think he might be capable of murder and wife beating. I don't really think he would at the drop of a hat. Now, they don't tell us the motivation. They love doing this. It's very HBO of them to not tell you why a character did something. I suspect that maybe he's jealous that his brother shared the visions of Aegon's, these secrets that only kings know, with his daughter and not him. And that's what set him off. But still, it was out of place, out of character. I didn't love it.
7.
Lord Corlys is back on the scene. I think the reason they haven't had him in any episodes thus far, even sickly in bed or away at war, is because they didn't want too many black people in their show. They're like, we can have 1 or 2 at a time, but that's the limit. So sorry, Corlys. He is back, surprisingly shady. He wants to turn tail, forget the Iron Throne, and retire to his castle and die old in his bed like a beta. What a No, man, it's the Game of Thrones. You win or you die. You started playing, you don't leave until you are brutally murdered or you're holding the bloody crown in your hands from all the relatives you had to slaughter getting it.
8.
More Corlys. Corlys actually says, he utters the words, hope is a fool's ally. And I love that phrase. That is amazing. Now, House Valyrian is in a tough situation. They have this house that needs their help, needs their troops, needs their dragons. However, these people might be complicit in the murder of their son. Not to mention the other side has already more force. It's a long shot that the queen is going to win. He breaks it all down to one thing. He says, but they stole your throne. And that it comes down to honor. And I have such respect for Lord Corlys for doing this. He's essentially wants to retire, but he's joining a losing battle because they dishonored the concepts of oath, frailty, and the throne. Love it. Always bet on black.
Nah.
The Starks, the Tullys, and the Baratheons are finally going to rejoin the story. Obviously, we've seen a hint of them at the pilot episode, but now we actually get to see them enter the story. Can't wait to see what their families are like at the given time, and I can't wait to see this war, which is clearly going to be a season 2 thing.
10.
The boys are amazing navigators. Like, she sends her sons off to go deliver messages to be like, join me. I'm sending my son. Look at how honorable that is. I trust my flesh and blood to you. And yet the boys are on the dragons and they're just like, go to Storm's End, which is across the sea. And the dragon just like knows where it's going. I mean, obviously, I assume the riders, they have handles, so I guess they're maneuvering them. But to figure out the navigation of that has got to be kind of complex. I'm impressed. Storm's End, number 11. Storm's End. This scene was tough. Even as he was sailing in, they created an air of just ominence floating over your head. And I'm like, I looked at this and I said, this boy is gonna die. I actually thought the soldiers were immediately gonna attack him, but he's able to land and he just sees the massive giant dragon that signals that Aemond is somewhere nearby. And that thing, you only see a silhouette of it against the lightning strike in the rain. It was out of Jurassic Park, only 10 times worse. I thought that thing was going to just come down and eat his dragon immediately right there. But they go into the scene where he has to beg for Boris Baratheon's help in front of his enemy cousin, who he has a grudge with, and is twice his size. So tense, so intimidating. You really think the kid is just going to be murdered. And I was like, there's no way this kid is getting out of this scene alive. And it gets worse. He's allowed to leave because actually Boris shows some strange honor, even though he's disrespectfully dishonorable when they first approach this situation. But Luke is able to get to his dragon, and they slowly have him just get on his dragon. You see him taking off. You see him flying through storm. And you're like, why do they keep the shot going? Something is going to happen. I'm so scared. It was out of a horror movie. It was perfectly done. And of course, Aemon's there, who wants to torment him and harass him. And what turns into a game of chicken and just bullying your nephew turns into straight up lethal dragon combat up in the skies, which ultimately results in the death of young Luke. It was crazy. And you see Aemon's just like, he looks back and he's like, a lot of people are arguing in the book he did it on purpose. In this, he did it on purpose. Here's what I'm saying. Don't wave a knife around somebody's face. A possible consequence is that you stab them. Just like you don't have a dragon constantly attacking, doing dive-by attacks, if you don't want to pay for the consequences of this poor kid crashing and dying. He knew what he was doing. He's an a-hole, and I can't wait till Daemon gives him his comeuppance. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, so don't ruin that for me. I don't know, spoilers, please, but I hope it does. And finally, was just how beautiful the final shot was, where they follow Daemon, and he hasn't been back into the courtroom since his assault on his wife, since he choked her out. And he comes in and he slowly walks around, and I'm like, is he going to get thrown out? Is it going to be a fight? What is Rhaenyera going to do? Instead, he has something to tell her, and we don't get to hear it, and I'm glad we don't, because it created a better energy. And he just takes her by the hand and he leads her toward the fireplace, and you could tell he's telling her something. And the fact that they just show her beautiful blonde hair and she just looks down, and you can just tell it is the pain of a mother who's lost her son. She turns around with the tears in her eyes, and you know the game is on. Yeah! Now this is Game of Thrones, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I thoroughly enjoyed this season, despite all the weird time jumping and not introducing people. I'll give you an example. I didn't know which son died. I knew he was like the younger one or the middle child, but I didn't know his name because they did not really introduce us or give him enough lines for him to be a thing in my mind. I was just like, the middle kid, or maybe the young kid died. I don't know. They all look alike to me. They all look like Sir Strong. And those were failings of the series, but I gotta say, they did great. The last couple episodes have been amazing once they stopped time jumping. And I am so invested. Now, next season, I am really hoping that Millie and Emily return, and I hope they have a flashback episodes or episodes that take place between the time jumps, just to play wonky flonky with the timeline, but also to let these girls come back. They were amazing. I prefer Millie to what we have now, but ultimately a wonderful production. But the real question is, what did you think of it? Please let me know down in the comments. Remember to smash that like button, give me a subscribe, and keep tuning in to Voice of the Fat Mantis. Just because the season is over doesn't mean our discussion of Hot D is coming to an end, man. We're going to keep analyzing it, and we're going to do crazy prediction videos for the future seasons. But until next time, ciao for now. Wah 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 wah.